Button Soup. A long time ago, a traveler named Daisy was riding the stagecoach out west. She was going to visit her old Uncle Scrooge. Daisy was tired and thirsty and very hungry. She could hardly wait to reach her uncle's house. When the stagecoach pulled into town, everyone came out to see who was on it. Goofy the sheriff walked up to Daisy. "Howdy," he said. "What can I do for you?" "I'm looking for Scrooge McDuck," said Daisy. "Scrooge McDuck!" cried Goofy the sheriff. "If you are as tired and hungry as you look, you should go to the hotel." Then he pointed to a little yellow house. "Old Scrooge lives there," he said, "but no one ever pays him a visit." "That is right," said Mrs. Clarabelle. "Old Scrooge must be the stingiest fellow in the whole West." "Yup," said Goofy, "he's the stingiest fellow in the West, all right." "I have met stingy fellows before," said Daisy. "Maybe I can teach my uncle a lesson." So Daisy went straight to the yellow house and knocked on the door. When Uncle Scrooge opened the door, Daisy threw her arms around his neck. "Surprise!" she cried. "I have come to pay a visit, Uncle." Scrooge did not look happy to see his niece. "I did not ask you to come," he shouted. But Daisy did not listen to him. She walked into the house. "I am very hungry, Uncle," she said. "What do you have to eat?" "You won't find any food here," said Scrooge. He tried to hide some dirty dishes. "There is no food in the house," he cried. "Poor Uncle," said Daisy. "You must be starved." And she went to the cupboard and took out a big black pot. There on a shelf was a basket of fried chicken. "Aha!" she thought. "My uncle is not as poor as he pretends to be." Daisy began to fill the pot with water. Uncle Scrooge jumped up and down. "You cannot cook here," he said. "I just told you I have no food." But Daisy did not listen to him. She lit a fire under the pot. "I don't need any food," she said. Her uncle's mouth fell open. "What in the world can you cook without food?" he asked. Daisy took out an old red button. She held it under her uncle's nose and rolled it slowly between her fingers. "With just this button," she said, "I can cook enough soup to fill that pot." "You can make soup with just one button?" said Scrooge. "I don't believe it." He watched Daisy drop the red button into the pot. "What do you call it?" asked Uncle Scrooge. "Button soup," said Daisy. Uncle Scrooge watched Daisy sniff the soup. She thought. "The stingiest fellow in the West is getting curious." Now Uncle Scrooge sniffed the soup. He did not smell a thing. Daisy began to stir very quickly. As she stirred, she said, "Whenever I make this soup at home, I always use some salt and pepper. But since you have no food in the house, I guess you have no salt and pepper." "I don't have any food," said Scrooge, "but I always save some salt and pepper for a rainy day." He lit a candle, opened a door in the ceiling, and climbed up to the attic. The attic walls were covered with jars of spice. Scrooge held his candle up to see them better. He picked out jars of salt and pepper to add to the button soup. Daisy poured the salt and pepper into the pot. Uncle Scrooge watched. He could hardly wait to taste the button soup. Daisy began to stir again. As she stirred, she said, "I once made this soup with an old soup bone. It was really delicious. But if you have no food, one button will have to do." "If all you need is an old soup bone," said Scrooge, "I might be able to find one." He took a lantern and ran down to the cellar. Scrooge's cellar looked just like a butcher shop. He had hams and chickens and turkeys and beef. He picked out a juicy bone to add to the button soup. When Scrooge came back with the bone, Daisy dropped it into the pot. The soup began to bubble and boil. "It smells good," said Scrooge. "This soup won a blue ribbon at the state fair," said Daisy. "But that time I used potatoes and carrots." "If the blue ribbon soup had potatoes and carrots, we shall have them too," said her uncle, and he ran out to the barn. Up in the hayloft Scrooge had vegetables, potatoes and carrots and big heads of cabbage. He grabbed a pitchfork and tossed the hay. He found some potatoes and carrots to add to the button soup. By this time the soup smelled so good Uncle Scrooge was dying to taste it, and every time Daisy named something that would make the soup even better, Uncle Scrooge rushed off to find it. He ran to the woodshed for onions and celery. He milked the cow to get Daisy some cream. He dug up his garden to get her some turnips. And he carried everything to the big black pot. At last the button soup was ready to taste. "This is too much soup for me," said Daisy, "and this is too much soup for you. Let's ask someone to share it with us." "Share it!" cried Scrooge. "Let's pour it into jars and save it. Food is hard to get." "But Uncle Scrooge," said Daisy, "don't you remember? We made this soup with just one button." "That's right," said Scrooge. "So we did." So Daisy ran to everyone in town. She ran to Goofy the sheriff. She ran to the ice cream parlor to get Miss Clarabelle. She ran to the general store for Mistress Minnie. She ran to the barber shop for Mickey and Cowboy Donald. And she told them all to come to Scrooge McDuck's house. When they came in, Scrooge gave them each a bowl. "You sure are clever," said Mrs. Clarabelle. "Scrooge is not the stingiest fellow in the West any more." Daisy only winked her eye. Soon they all sat down to a button soup feast, and it really was delicious. "What a clever niece I have," said Scrooge. "She made this soup with just one button." When the time came for Daisy to leave, Scrooge went to the stagecoach to see her off. "Come back to visit me soon, Daisy," he said. After all, thought Scrooge, such clever nieces don't grow on every bush. The end. Bread and jam for Francis. It was breakfast time, and everyone was at the table. Father was eating his egg. Mother was eating her egg. Gloria was sitting in a high chair and eating her egg too. Francis was eating bread and jam. "What a lovely egg," said Father. "If there is one thing I am fond of for breakfast, it is a soft-boiled egg." "Yes," said Mother, spooning up egg for the baby. "It is just the thing to start the day off right." "Ah!" said Gloria, and ate up her egg. Frances did not eat her egg. She sang a little song to it. She sang the song very softly. "I do not like the way you slide. I do not like your soft inside. I do not like you lots of ways. And I could do for many days without eggs." "What did you say, Francis?" asked Father. "Nothing," said Francis, spreading jam on another slice of bread. "Why do you keep eating bread and jam?" asked Father, "when you have a lovely soft-boiled egg?" "One of the reasons I like bread and jam," said Francis, "is that it does not slide off your spoon in a funny way." "Well, of course," said Father, "not everyone is fond of soft-boiled eggs for breakfast. But there are other kinds of eggs. There are sunny-side-up and sunny-side-down eggs." "Yes," said Francis, "but sunny-side-up eggs lie on the plate and look at you in a funny way. And sunny-side-down eggs just lie on their stomachs and wait." "What about scrambled eggs?" said Father. "Scrambled eggs fall off the fork and roll under the table," said Francis. "I think it is time for you to go to school now," said Mother. Frances picked up her books, her lunchbox, and her skipping rope. Then she kissed Mother and Father goodbye and went to the bus stop. While she waited for the bus, she skipped and sang, "Jam on biscuits, jam on toast. Jam is the thing that I like the most. Jam is sticky, jam is sweet. Jam is tasty, jam's a treat. Raspberry, strawberry, gooseberry, I'm very fond of jam." That evening for dinner, Mother cooked breaded veal cutlets with string beans and baked potatoes. "Ah," said Father, What is there handsomer on a plate and tastier to eat than breaded veal cutlet? It is a nice dish, isn't it? Said Mother. Eat up the string bean, Gloria. Oh, said Gloria, and ate it up. She had already eaten her dinner of strained beef and sweet potatoes, but she liked to practice with a string bean when she could. Where do breaded veal cutlets come from? Asked Francis. And why are French-cut stringless beans called string beans? We can talk about that another time, said Father. Now it is time to eat our dinner. Frances looked at her plate and sang, What do cutlets wear before they're breaded? Flannel nightgowns, cowboy boots, furry jackets, sailor suits. Then she spread jam on a slice of bread and took a bite. She won't try anything new, said Mother to Father. She just eats bread and jam. How do you know what you'll like if you won't even try anything? Asked Father. Well, said Frances, there are many different things to eat, and they taste many different ways. But when I have bread and jam, I always know what I am getting, and I am always pleased. You may try new things in your school lunches, said Mother. Today I gave you a chicken salad sandwich. There now, said Father to Frances. Wasn't it good? Well, said Frances, I traded it to Albert. For what? Said Father. Bread and jam, said Frances. The next morning at breakfast, Father sat down and said, Now I call that a pretty sight. Fresh orange juice and poached eggs on toast. There's a proper breakfast for you. Thank you for saying so, said Mother. Poached eggs on toast do have a cheery look, I think. Frances began to sing a poached egg song. Poached eggs on toast, why do you shiver with such a funny little quiver? Then she looked down and saw that she did not have a poached egg. I have no poached egg, said Frances. I have nothing but orange juice. I know, said Mother. Why is that? Said Frances. Everybody else has a poached egg. Even Gloria has a poached egg, and she is nothing but a baby. But you do not like eggs, said Mother, and that is why I did not poach one for you. Have some bread and jam if you are hungry. So Frances ate bread and jam and went to school. When the bell rang for lunch, Frances sat down next to her friend Albert. What do you have today? Said Frances. I have a cream cheese cucumber and tomato sandwich on rye bread, said Albert, and a pickle to go with it, and a hard-boiled egg, and a little cardboard shaker of salt to go with that, and a thermos of bottled milk, and a bunch of grapes, and a tangerine, and a cup of custard, and a spoon to eat it with. What do you have? Frances opened her lunch. Bread and jam, she said, and milk. You're lucky, said Albert. That's just what you like. You don't have to trade now. That's right, said Frances, and I had bread and jam for dinner last night, and for breakfast this morning. You certainly are lucky, said Albert. Yes, said Frances, I am a very lucky girl, I guess. But I'll trade if you want to. That's all right, said Albert. I like cream cheese with cucumbers and tomatoes on rye. Albert took 2 napkins from his lunchbox. He tucked one napkin under his chin. He spread the other one on his desk like a tablecloth. He arranged his lunch neatly on the napkin. With his spoon, he cracked the shell of the hard-boiled egg. He peeled away the shell and bit off the end of the egg. He sprinkled salt on the yolk and set the egg down again. He unscrewed his thermos bottle cup and filled it with milk. Then he was ready to eat his lunch. He took a bite of sandwich, a bite of pickle, a bite of hard-boiled egg, and a drink of milk. Then he sprinkled more salt on the egg, and went around again. Albert made the sandwich, the pickle, the egg, and the milk come out even. He ate his lunch of grapes, his bunch of grapes, and his tangerine. Then he cleared away the crumpled up wax paper, the eggshell, and the tangerine peel. He set the cup custard in the middle of the napkin on his desk. He took up his spoon and ate up all the custard. Then Albert folded up his napkins and put them away. He put away his cardboard salt shaker and his spoon. He screwed the cup on top of his thermos bottle. He shut his lunch box, put it back inside his desk, and sighed. "I like to have a good lunch," said Albert. Frances ate her bread and jam and drank her milk. Then she went out to the playground and skipped rope. She did not skip as fast as she had skipped in the morning, and she sang, "Jam in the morning, jam at noon, bread and jam by the light of the moon. Jam is very nice." When Frances got home from school, Mother said, "I know you like to have a little snack when you get home from school, and I have one all ready for you." "I do like snacks," said Frances, running to the kitchen. "Here it is," said Mother, "a glass of milk and some nice bread and jam for you." "Aren't you worried that maybe I will get sick and all my teeth will fall out from eating so much bread and jam?" asked Frances. "I don't think that will happen for quite a while," said Mother, "so eat it all up and enjoy it." Frances ate up most of her bread and jam, but she did not eat all of it. After her snack, she went outside to skip rope. Frances skipped a little more slowly than she had skipped at noon, and she sang, "Jam for snacks and jam for meals. I know how a jam jar feels, full of jam." That evening for dinner, Mother cooked spaghetti and meatballs with tomato sauce. "I am glad to see there will be enough for second helpings," said Father, "because spaghetti and meatballs is one of my favorite dishes." "Spaghetti and meatballs is a favorite with everybody," said Mother. "Try a little spaghetti, Gloria." Said Gloria, and tried the spaghetti. Frances looked down at her plate and saw that there was no spaghetti and meatballs on it. There was a slice of bread and a jar of jam. Frances began to cry. "My goodness," said Mother, "Frances is crying." "What is the matter?" asked Father. Frances looked down at her plate and sang a little sad song. She sang so softly that Mother and Father could scarcely hear her. "What I am is tired of jam." "I want spaghetti and meatballs," said Frances. "May I have some, please?" "I had no idea you liked spaghetti and meatballs," said Mother. "How do you know what I'll like if you won't even let me try?" asked Frances, wiping her eyes. So Mother gave Frances spaghetti and meatballs, and she ate it all up. The next day, when the bell rang for lunch, Albert said, "What do you have today?" "Well," said Frances, laying a paper doily on her desk and setting a tiny vase of violets in the middle of it. "Let me see." She arranged her lunch on the doily. "I have a thermos bottle with cream of tomato soup," she said, "and a lobster salad sandwich on thin slices of white bread. I have celery, carrot sticks, and black olives, and a little cardboard shaker of salt for the celery, and 2 plums, and a tiny basket of cherries, and vanilla pudding with chocolate sprinkles, and a spoon to eat it with." "That's a good lunch," said Albert. "I think it's nice that there are all different kinds of lunches and breakfasts and dinners and snacks. I think eating is nice." "So do I," said Frances, and she made the lobster salad sandwich, the celery, the carrot sticks, and the olives come out even. The end. Lily's purple plastic purse. Lily loved school. She loved the pointy pencils. She loved the squeaky chalk. And she loved the way her boots went clickety clickety click down the long, shiny hallways. Lily loved the privacy of her very own desk. She loved the fish sticks and chocolate milk every Friday in the lunchroom. And, most of all, she loved her teacher, Mr. Slinger. Mr. Slinger was as sharp as a tack. He wore artistic shirts. He wore glasses on a chain around his neck, and he wore a different colored tie for each day of the week. "Wow," said Lily. That was just about all she could say. Wow. Instead of "Greetings, students," or "Good morning, pupils," Mr. Slinger winked and said, "Howdy." He thought that desks in rows were old-fashioned and boring. Do you rodents think you can handle a semicircle? And he always provided the most tasty snacks, things that were curly and crunchy and cheesy. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, said Lily. Me too, said her friends Chester and Wilson and Victor. At home, Lily pretended to be Mr. Singer. I am the teacher, she told her baby brother, Julius. Listen up. Lily even wanted her own set of deluxe picture encyclopedias. What's with Lily? Asked her mother. I thought she wanted to be a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva, said her father. It must be because of her new teacher, Mr. Slinger, said her mother. Wow, said her father. That was just about all he could say. Wow. Whenever the students had free time, they were permitted to go to the light bulb lab in the back of the classroom. They expressed their ideas creatively through drawing and writing. Lily went often. She had a lot of ideas. She drew pictures of Mr. Slinger, and she wrote stories about him too. During sharing time, Lily showed her creations to the entire class. Wow, said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. Wow. When Mr. Slinger had bus duty, Lily stood in line even though she didn't ride the bus. Lily raised her hand more than anyone else in class, even if she didn't know the answer. And she volunteered to stay after school to clap erasers. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, said Lily. Excellent choice, said Mr. Slinger. One morning Lily came to school especially happy. She had gone shopping with her Grammy over the weekend. Lily had a new pair of movie star sunglasses, complete with glittery diamonds and a chain like Mr. Slinger's. She had 3 shiny quarters, and, best of all, she had a brand new purple plastic purse that played a jaunty tune when it opened. Lily wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Listen to our story. Lily had a hard time listening. Lily really wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Let's be considerate of our classmates. Lily had a hard time being considerate. Lily really, really wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Wait until recess or sharing time. But Lily could not wait. The glasses were so glittery, the quarters were so shiny, and the purse played such nice music, not to mention how excellent it was for storing school supplies. Look, Lily whispered fiercely. Look, everyone. Look what I've got. Everyone looked, including Mr. Slinger. He was not amused. I'll just keep your things at my desk until the end of the day, said Mr. Slinger. They'll be safe there, and you can take them home. Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. Her glasses were gone. Her quarters were gone. Her purple plastic purse was gone. Lily longed for her purse all morning. She was even too sad to eat the snack Mr. Slinger served before recess. That afternoon Lily went to the light bulb lab. She was still very sad. She thought and she thought and she thought, and then she became angry. She thought and she thought and she thought some more, and then she became furious. She thought and she thought and she thought a bit longer, and then she drew a picture of Mr. Slinger. Big fat mean Mr. Stealing Teacher. Wanted by FBI. Bad. Thief. Bad. P.S. I do not want to be a teacher when I grow up. Right before the last bell rang, Lily sneaked the drawing into Mr. Slinger's book bag. When all the students were buttoned and zipped and snapped and tied and ready to go home, Mr. Slinger strolled over to Lily and gave her purple plastic purse back. It's a beautiful purse, said Mr. Slinger. Your quarters are nice and jingly, and those glasses are absolutely fabulous. You may bring them back to school as long as you don't disturb the rest of the class. I do not want to be a teacher when I grow up, Lily said as she marched out of the classroom. On the way home, Lily opened her purse. Her glasses and quarters were inside, and so was a note from Mr. Slinger. It said, Tomorrow Today was a difficult day. Tomorrow will be better. There was also a bag of tasty snacks at the bottom of the purse. Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. She felt simply awful. Lily ran all the way home and told her mother and father everything. Instead of watching her favorite cartoons, Lily decided to sit in the uncooperative chair. I'll stay here a million years for Mr. Slinger. Why does everything always happen to me? 1051, 1052, 1099. That night, Lily drew a picture of Mr. Slinger and wrote a story about him, too. Lily was really, really sorry, so everyone forgave her, even her parents, even her stinky baby brother, even her especially incredible teacher. And then the sun shined its smiley face down on everyone and everything, even the bugs and worms. The end. And then there's a little picture of the teacher saying, "Listen up, everyone. I forgive everyone. Kind, good, nice, could be principal. I am really, 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 really sorry," is what Lily's saying in the drawing. Lily's mother wrote a note, and Lily's father baked some tasty snacks for Lily to take to school the next day. "I think Mr. Slinger will understand," said Lily's mother. "I know he will," said Lily's father. The next morning Lily got to school early. "These are for you," Lily said to Mr. Slinger, "because I'm really, 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 really sorry." Mr. Slinger read the story, and he looked at the picture, and he read the note, and he sampled the snacks. "Wow," said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. Wow. "What do you think we should do about this?" asked Mr. Slinger. "Could we just throw it away?" asked Lily. "Excellent idea," said Mr. Slinger. During sharing time, Lily demonstrated the many uses and unique qualities of her purple plastic purse, her shiny quarters, and her glittery movie star sunglasses. Then she did a little performance using them as props. "It's called interpretive dance," said Lily. Mr. Slinger joined in. "Wow," said the entire class. That was just about all they could say. Wow. Throughout the rest of the day, Lily's purse and quarters and sunglasses were tucked safely inside her desk. She peeked at them often, but she did not disturb a soul. Right before the last bell, Mr. Slinger served Lily's snacks, to everyone's delight. "What do you want to be when you grow up, everyone?" asked Mr. Slinger. "A teacher," everyone responded. Lily's response was the loudest. "Excellent choice," said Mr. Slinger. As the pupils filed out of the classroom, Lily held her purple plastic purse close to her heart. Mr. Slinger was right. It had been a better day. Lily ran and skipped and hopped and flew all the way home. She was so happy, and she really did want to be a teacher when she grew up. That is, when she didn't want to be a dancer, or a surgeon, or an ambulance driver, or a diva, or a pilot, or a hairdresser, or a scuba diver. The end. Good night, my love. Sweet dreams.